Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Leaders in Supply Chain podcast. I'm your host, Radu Palamariu, Group CEO of Elko Global. I'm delighted to have with us today a great figure, a great leader in supply chain, Donato Giorgio, who is the president of global supply chain for Essity. Maybe a quick introduction of Essity. It's a Swedish hygiene and health company. The product portfolio contains one-use products such as tissue paper, baby diapers, feminine care, compression therapy, orthopedics, wound care, approximately 15 billion of revenue. The name stems from the words essentials and necessity. And Donato is leading a very large organization, 19,000 direct employees, 48 production sites, and literally leading a very important consumer company that helps people all around the world. He's had an illustrious career in supply chain for many, many years. He started in Procter & Gamble, now with Essity and the SCA Group for many years as well. It's my pleasure and delight to have you, Donato. Thanks for the time and welcome.
Thank you, Radu. Thank you for hosting me here and giving this opportunity to share experiences.
My pleasure. So let's start first and foremost then with yourself. And I like to ask, your career is illustrious. You've spent 25, 30 years in supply chain. But beyond the CV, beyond the career, typically when you look back, there's some inflection points, moments in time when you look back and say, wow, that made a lot of difference for where I am today. What are those inflection points in your career? What are maybe 2, 3 elements or inflections that really made the most difference for you?
But let's say the two inflection point is my start. I start in Italy in Procter and Gamble in an acquisition that P&G did for Tissue Europe. And after 1 year, P&G sent me to US for a big learning experience that was supposed to be 1 year. And then I spent 1 year in the two biggest factory of P&G at the time, Albany, Georgia, and Meupan in Pennsylvania, and with an intense training course. And that gave me, at the beginning of my career, a very strong imprinting on how to work and very good connections on how to learn. And that has been one of the most important boosts that I had for my development, to really start knowing what good looks like and knowing the best practice and knowing how to learn. And in my career, in my position now, I consider this the most important part of my job, to take all the young managers and from the beginning tell them, you have done the university, you are starting in this company, now you have to continue learning even more. Because if you stop learning, you are dead and you are unuseful for the company. And this comes from my important experience in the beginning of the career. Let's say the other inflection point was when, after 12 years, more or less, I changed from Procter and Gamble to SCA, and then from SCA now we created Essity. I was a perfect proctoid. I was programmed in US, growing in Europe with a lot of coaching and training and things, and I was pretty sure I would have never left Procter and Gamble. But someone from SCA came and said, look, we are looking to build something great for the future. We have something in SCA that is a great base, a great culture, a great development in the past years, but we want to do something spectacular out of it. And we are looking for people to jump on and create the future. And actually, that was very, very, very attractive. And I have to say that I remember when I left my last P, I was in the Procter and Gamble plant in Umfeld, Germany, for beauty care. And my last day in P&G, when I drove from the plant to home, I was crying for 45 minutes because it was in my heart. But the first day in SCA, I felt already at home, and I was really experiencing a different environment and a very big vibe to create the future. And that for me has been very, very different. The third point and last that I want to put in evidence as inflection point, and maybe we can touch base at the end with this when we talk about people, how to grow people, is that I think the only reason why I am in the position where I am is that because I had the privilege and the fortune to learn and to meet people with extreme good experience that wanted to teach me and to learn from them. So I had two, three, four key critical important managers where I learned a lot from, and they really every time changed my career. And if I can jump to a concrete experience that I always tell in when I do motivational speech to young manager when they ask about career, I mean, you never know what will really be the difference in your career. And I remember I am an operation animal. I mean, I really started as a process engineer, become line manager, department manager, converting, paper making. So for me, when I am on the production floor is my environment. When I am in the head office, I feel a bit like the fish out, out of the pot, but the production floor is my environment. And I started my career and I had a very quick development. I developed very well, and I became operation manager of the Italian plant where I was, which was a relatively small plant. And then Procter and Gamble asked me to go and become operation manager of the UK plant, which was at the time the most important one. And I was super excited about that. But I had, and up to that time, I had a boss, which was Roberto Giardini. I can mention the name is one of the most competent person in the world of manufacturing that I consider. That he always teach me operation, operation, operation. And then this boss changed and came a German lady as a manager, as a plant manager, Vera Ingenuet. And this when I was going to move expatriate from Italy to UK to the most important plant, the most important operation position. She told me, no, Donato, listen to me. Don't move there again in operation. Stay here and do logistic. Change completely your area. Do logistic, and eventually, after you do technology, technical manager for the plant, also safety manager. And honestly, I say, Vera, are you out of mind? I mean, no, I mean, no way. I mean, I was operation is the important thing, and operation is the most important plant. Expatriate in UK said, yeah, Donato, but for your development, it's good that you do other things now. And let's say the first I reacted to her. I mean, she's fantastic manager. I reacted to her very strong. I said, okay, let me think at home. And then I don't know how and why I accepted their suggestion. And then I left operation and I did the assignment in logistic, in engineering, in safety. I was also safety manager of the plant. And I have to say that today I can do my job in a decent way, or quite more than decent, because I really did at the beginning of my career, that certain phase, I could see all the different aspects of the supply chain. If I would have stayed in operation and growing, I would have missed a lot. So this to say an inflection point is sometimes you think that some jobs are a killer for your career, or you think, I'm not growing so much, but actually they are the most important to make you an holistic leader.
I love it. So such an amazing example, Donato. Two things. So as yourself, I sometimes find myself asked to what is the fastest way to success? Everybody wants to be fast, especially the young generation. And having great mentors is always my suggestion as well. I think it matters a lot. Second, you mentioned holistic. So we actually wrote a book, Source to Soul. In that book, we interviewed a lot of different people that were CEO from supply chain or a chief supply chain officer. And the conclusion of all those people, that one of the five, so there is a chain model in that book, but one of the five elements is exactly what you said, holistic. And I just so loved that it's just another reinforcement from a chief supply chain officer that you got to understand holistically end to end in supply chain in order to be a great chief supply chain officer. You cannot only be manufacturing or logistics or planning or procurement. You need, if you want the chief supply chain officer, or if you want an end-to-end role, you got to have that holistic understanding of the supply chain. So I cannot be more thrilled that you shared that and completely aligned with your.
You need to be an orchestrator of the different part of the orchestra. I mean, it's not that you are expert in all the different playing all the different tools, but you need to know them a bit and respect them, all of them, and find a way to orchestrate. I mean,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
Radu, if I can come back, because there is an important point. I mean, the people that listen, I don't know if there is one message to take from my personal experience and what I try to teach and mentor to the others. When you say to be successful in your career, I see two elements. One is absolutely mentor, work with people where you can learn. I mean, if I can repeat to that, it's when people ask me, should I take this job or not? I say, where are you going? Can you learn something? There is a leader where you can learn from. Go. If you cannot learn, don't go. It's important to learn. Continuous learning is important. We talk today about this quick evolving world. The world has always been evolving, and today is evolving, maybe quicker or not. But to stay on that, you need to keep learning and adapting. Point one. And point two is what I consider an absolute golden rule. I think the most important golden rule by far that I tell to the manager, that is not that I have learned it in management books or in MBAs or in a book. Actually, I saw one morning on the wall of the elementary school of my second son. It
Mm.
was written, do the job that you like, and you will never have to work in your life. And I think this is a golden rule. You have to do something that you have passion for. You have to do something that you like. You have to do something where you wake up in the morning, you go having fun. Because if you go because it's important for your career, or if you go because of the money, whatever, you will not be successful and you will not have a nice life. So it's better you don't go. These are
Yeah.
for me the two absolute golden rules.
Yes. Very,
That
very well said.
day you asked me to share a bit of my career. Of course, at PNG, and then I did all this experience. I worked in Italy, in US, Germany, in Dusseldorf, and in Germany, in Frankfurt, and then basically now worldwide because I had all different experience, but and I can share my experience. But what always has been driving me is to I went in my career with the flow. Let's say I did what I liked, and I did everything with passion for the people and for the things that we were doing. I worked in operation, in pure manufacturing, logistic, in technology, in safety, which is also very important. And I worked in tissue, in personal care, in beauty care, in shampoo, perfumes, hair care, and now with Essity that we produce essential necessities, as you well said at the introduction. I really wake up every morning with my team and with the 19,000 people that I have in the supply chain and the 35,000 we have in the full company, because we are all passionate to remove barrier to well-being.
Yes.
I like this. I like my job. I like what we contribute because we remove barrier to well-being. We remove barrier to well-being to young kids, to females, to patients in the hospitals with our inco part and our medical part. And we do something great. We do something good to help their life and person where I'm putting also a lot of energy with some great leader in my organization. Also, when we talk about sustainability, we have an approach to sustainability, which means improve penetration of our product, improve affordability of our product, improved availability of our product, because they
Mm.
are necessities. In my career, I produced also luxury perfumes, and that was great. I mean, there you have a 300% or even more, 1000% gross margin. It's capital light is great, but to be honest, I was not feeling a big vibe in that I was contributing to the world big times. But what we are doing now, making essential product available to all the parts of the world and more possible, it really helps. If I jump to, let's say, the vision that I have for the future, we all know, particularly with our bad experience of COVID, how hygiene products are important, are really important. And when you go in developing countries like Africa, like some parts of Latin America, like some parts of Asia, are really important. Feminine product, when we talk about promoting diversity and equality, in some countries of Africa, you have the females, they start really with the handicap, because when they have their period and they don't have the female product available, they don't go to school. And
Yeah.
if you lose 1 week a month of school, of course, it's difficult. Then you have the males that develop more in average, develop more, and then you stay behind. So if we can provide dignity to everyone, then it will also really change the life. And of course, if you are in that situations, let's say the pure sustainability problem is not so much relevant for you, because you have really day-to-day problem. When you go to Latin America and people have, let's say, $2, I had a personal experience I want to share, because I always
Mm.
go, even though I'm in supply chain, I always confront with consumer, with customer. I want to understand the need of the people. And then you go to an elderly care home in Colombia, for instance, where you see that our incontinence product cost, let's say, $1 a day, and they need two, three, four per day to have a dignified life. Means they have to spend $2 to $4 a day for this. And for us in Europe or in US, okay, well, this is nothing. But in Colombia, a person with $2 a day can decide, okay, do I have lunch or do I have my incontinence product and I have dignity? And just making these more affordable, more available, with better performance, so you have to change less, it can really make a big difference. And when I talk about my vision of this in the future, it's, I don't know how many people knows paper machines. So tissue product. Tissue product has a big production site, very capital intense, with a lot of water, a lot of gas. It's the second after steel production in terms of massive of capital intensity and production. So in places like Africa, it's difficult to justify an investment of $1 billion to put something like this. And by the way, you don't have the infrastructure of gas and you don't have the infrastructure of water. But my vision of this is that one day you have a container in the middle of Africa with a much smaller machine inside, with a solar panel on that, using a local agricultural waste as raw material, producing hygiene product. And that is the future that I envision, because that will give a sustainable product, because it's circular economy, local,
Yeah.
not transporting wood from
Yeah.
Brazil to Africa and then shipping for thousands and thousands of kilometers around. So you have circular economy, you have no use of water or fossil fuel, and you deliver products locally. Because
But it's
I am a strong believer of sustainability that needs to be sustainable. Means the rule of that, and this is why we are working intensively in all our areas, that it should be a product using local resources, be available locally, with a circular economy and using less resources. So it's better for the planet and it's better for the people.
Yes, I can connect you separately and hub to this with Colgate. So Colgate has done that. They have actually, so they have some case studies of factory in a box, they call it. So where they basically were producing toothpaste in a box. And I think that obviously there's some lessons learned, maybe sharing session. But this is first the passion that comes and the meaning that comes from your job is palpable. And thanks for sharing. Second, clearly there's businesses and businesses out there, but clearly what Essity does is when your business is about giving people truly a better life and dignity at the core, I think that is incredibly purpose led, and it comes across very strongly from what you just shared, Donato, and thank you for that. Now, linking it to supply chain, and specifically, I think you've gone through and you've been with Essity for what, 10 years in the form that it is today, of course, SCA before. Tell us a little bit about the supply chain transformation of your team. Also, I think you had different roles. Now it's an end to end. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yes, That's another very exciting element. Just briefly, I joined Essity 15 years ago as a regional local director for 4 tissue factories in Northern Europe. And then after 18 months, I became vice president for personal care for Europe, and then Europe, Middle East, Africa. And then after I became president for the global tissue, and then president for global tissue and personal care, we created the first global manufacturing organization, and then logistic, and then procurement. So I have really the pleasure, the honor, I have to say, really the honor to have built this integrated supply chain in Essity. And I think it's a unique, great experience. And I know a lot of companies are trying this. 15 years ago, we were, I would say, more than traditional. So we had factories in their countries, in the commercial organization. So you could, the most traditional organization you can imagine, reporting to the sales organization with no interconnection at all between different factories, no interconnection at all between the different business, and forget it about continents. And then SCA really was in a big development journey and wanted to create something great. And in 2017, we created Essity to be the new leading health and hygiene company of the world. And this is really a great experience. But of course, in our industry, supply chain is a fundamental part. I always give the example, we are, let's say, the engine room and the steering wheel and the steering mechanism of direction mechanism of a big boat. And the engine room needs to be efficient, reliable, agile, responsive, in connection with all the other part of the boat to really ensure that this works well. Because in our industry, COGS, cost of goods sold, is a big part of the net sales. So in tissue, if you are efficient in producing and cost competitive, you have a reason of being. If you are not cost competitive, you are out of the market. And in personal care also is the same. And you need to be very agile. If I take our baby business, we every 2-3 years we completely renovate all our assortment, but also the way we produce in to introduce significant innovation. Otherwise, you are out of the market because it's a very dynamic element. So the transformation of supply chain, we started really 15 years ago with great people. I mean, who hired me was William Ledger, that was the vice president of Tissue Europe at the time, and that division, to create something more advanced with the company. So we started creating the network of the plant, that we started creating a common organization of different plants in the different region. We started putting together a manufacturing excellence organization to clarify the best practice. I think a journey that is a quite standard for different companies. And then we evolve until we really created from a regional center of development, I would say, to a global network in the manufacturing organization. And we also put a lot of different competence from different company. I like to say that SCT, SCA was like United States 100 years ago, where people from all over the world were coming, melting together and creating the future. Because actually SCT today is the product of a historical long SCA, Procter & Gamble big acquisition that has been done in SCA in Europe, Georgia Pacific acquisition that has been done from SCA in Europe, because SCA acquired P&G, acquired Georgia Pacific Tissue, both of them Europe, and a lot of other acquisition in different areas of personal care and tissue. So you have really, I have to say that when I joined SCA Essity, really I experienced the diversity, because you were sitting at a table with manager coming from complete different experience. And I was always amazed to see how these people, how we could see at the same problem with total different perspective. And with the fantastic culture of this company, we will use this diversity to build on each other and not to fight. And then we really build step by step this global manufacturing organization. And then we integrated procurement, because you just think 15 years ago the procurement function was not even existing. You can imagine, was a purchasing manager in each local factory or in each local general manager, old concept of general manager. And then we created a global procurement. I mean, today I have Jessica Nordlinder. She reports to me. She is the chief procurement officer of Essity, and she has created a really modern procurement organization with I'm very proud to say, and I give a very big credit to my procurement organization, with the essence of making sure that they keep serving the local needs, leveraging with a global knowledge, with digital tools, and with a holistic overview. And this is the rule that we always use in Essity. I see a lot of companies are struggling with this matrix organization, local versus global, and think. For us, it's very easy. And this is also when you say supply chain transformation from the old concept of general manager to the new concept of matrix organization, where a lot of people struggle. For us, are two golden rule again. You serve the local business with the global capabilities, but you have to be relevant locally. It's otherwise, because locally we help our sales force and we go and sell. Second, in this company, we are business-led and functionally enabled. What does it mean? It is crystal clear to everyone in end-to-end supply chain, from procurement, manufacturing, engineering, to supply chain management, logistics, that we are there to serve our business unit sales force to be successful on the market. Because the single common KPI of the company is that we are successful on the market and we can introduce our product. So these two rules are fundamental principle to be successful. Otherwise, I mean, I speak a lot of colleagues, supply chain officers around, and some of them are struggling in this matrix way of working. And for us, is crystal clear. You have to have a kind of a service mindset. And then, as I said, from manufacturing, then we build a procurement, a global level procurement, and then we integrate. We start looking at the supply chain function, start really putting attention and capability in the logistics, getting out of the plant. Because when we brought the plant operational manufacturing performance to an acceptable level, good level, I would say now we have in some area an excellent level. Then you start looking, okay, how do I connect this? How do I serve, let's say, the engine? And then we were looking at supply chain. And this is the work that Ilham Smali, that is our vice president for supply chain, is doing in an excellent way. We are building hubs. We are building a smart hub in Barcelona, where we do the central coordination for supply planning, demand planning, transport management globally. I mean, again, this is something that the most evolved companies are all doing the same. But what I say I am particularly proud of Essity is that we are doing in a integrated and holistic way, because you have to do the right thing at the right moment. Because if you cannot do 2 + 2, there is no point to start talking about logarithmic functions, if you understand what I mean. So this really construction of end-to-end supply chain transformation, where we are now, where we are really have a setup to integrated to create a customer-centric end-to-end supply chain you can trust. It's a long journey. I would say in this company has been a 15, 20 years journey that needs to be done with knowledge, with patience, and with the big spirit of team building.
I do have $1 million question for you, Donato. And I must say I am impressed by what seems to me from what you're sharing, but also what I searched online, your own career. What seems to be clearly a long-term vision and approach for the business from Essity. Not a lot of companies are structured like that. You've been Procter and Gamble. The more listed, and Procter is also long-term thinking to their credit. But I think most companies are that friction of three quarterly results sometimes leads to short-term thinking, which
Yeah.
in turn it kind of detrimental. What I wanted to ask you, and also to create what you're working and what you're closer and closer to achieving, and you're optimizing and performing really well end-to-end supply chain. At every step of the way, you had to sell that to your CEO. You had to sell that to your board. That is a struggle for a lot of supply chain professionals, because then they want to do, a lot of them want to do the right thing. They are maybe not that capable to sell that and influence the board to also see supply chain as what it is, an engine room, the ultimate engine that drives the company. So my question to you is, how any tips that helped you in positioning, influencing, and telling the board and your CEO, hey guys, this is how this helps, let's do it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I have my strong experience on that, and I really would like to share with all the people in the podcast because I tell continuous to my management. For me, coming from Procter and Gamble, say coming from the university to SCA, which was at that time a very, let's say, average company, was really the first time to have a experience and impact on the real world. So with people, because in P&G you are always all P&Gers, you speak all the same language, you have all the same experience. When you talk is immediate, ta ta ta. You go to SCA. I went to SCA. I said, but I mean, look, it's obvious. We have to do this and this. No, no, it's not obvious. No, it's absolutely not. And there is another great element of Essity SCA that is super positive, but also was for me an incredible challenge that it's a fantastic place. It's a fantastic company where we basically don't have a big rotation because people, it's a bit like Toyota. People stay there. It's a family wants to stay there. No one leaves. No one leaves this company. And the average seniority, I mean, you have people 30, 40, 50 years in the company. And this company has been growing incredibly in the last years. So it's been an incredible growth story. So wherever you go to someone that has been 20 years in SCT, SCA, and you say, look, you see, we have to do this and this and this different. We are not good in this. We have to improve this. And the people say, yeah, but actually we are super great. I mean, 10 years ago, we were 10 times smaller. Now we are having best results ever. Why should we change? I mean, it's yeah, but because you can look at the future in this way. So to me, to sell all the different things, so you can imagine, like in all the company, how to sell a central demand planning hub. I said, this is, I know that everyone struggles with this. I have my small way. I learned also the art way, I have to say, this way of work. Honestly, to sell to the CEO and the board has always been the least problem. Is to get it accepted in the company is the most important thing, particularly in Essity, because Essity is a fantastic family. So if the family accepts it, you get it done. If the family does not accept it, you don't get it done, even if the CEO says it. So for everything, let me tell something, an example, stupid. So late product differentiation. Okay. I worked in beauty care. In beauty care, in hair care, late product differentiation is a must. You don't go anywhere if you don't have a late product differentiation. I came in SCA, SCT, there is no late product differentiation. And I would start talking, and I looked like San Giovanni in the desert. So people look at me, what do you want? You know? Yeah, I know, it's not important. And then I learned, okay, every time I stop talking, I don't talk anymore. I don't try to convince anyone anymore on anything. I start doing. I take small cases. I take people that want to do it. So instead of starting putting energy in convincing people that are more farther away, I leverage on the people that want to jump. I am a fan, I'm pretty sure most of you know the YouTube video, The First Dancer. You know, this video where there is a music on the grass and no one dance, and then there is the
Yes.
first one coming and dancing.
One
And
of my
then the
friends, one
second
of
one,
my friends did that. The first follower. So
the
it's one
first
of my
follower.
friends that, yes, yes,
That
and it
is,
create a
that is
movement. Yeah.
for me, the answer to your question is watch that video of the first follower, because don't start pulling the one that at the moment they feel, oh no, I don't know how to dance and stuff. Get the first follower dancing. So do a small case, do something, show it, show great results, and then people come and say, I don't know, but wow, but that is very interesting. But how did you do what? How, you know what? We can do this, this, and this. So do something, show in order that people can see it, and then it's easy to convince. And also, me, I am a person that to learn, I need to see things, I need to touch, to experience. So I also respect this in the other, because when you go and you start selling concept, you know, if you did this and these people get lost. But if you take a production line or a small end-to-end flow where you show like product differentiation, or where you show where you are doing lately, we are working a lot intensively with huge success with equipment ownership, means with the real TPM, total employee involvement. And then you show the people, then the other followers come, and then you get everyone dancing. So my small thing is, do, show, and get people going. I always say, look, even Jesus, it did not start with the full world. It started with 12 people, the 12 apostles, and from that 12 apostles go to the others. So take it step by step.
I love the analogy. I mean, and I will link during this podcast, I would link that video because it's such a, I
Yes.
mean, for those of you that are listening that don't have a clue about the video, basically the gist of it is that there was one guy in a festival that stands up and starts dancing. And it takes a while. It takes a while. He's just a lone nut. That is exactly what the video narrator, again, funnily enough, Donato, I know the guy who did it. It's a guy called Derek Sievers. He put together the video.
Uh,
And Derek says he's just a lone nut for now. Nobody's following. But the moment that one person followed, again, there are two of them, you have a follower, and then three, four, five, and then you have a whole crowd for everybody listening. You end up having hundreds of people within the span of 30 to 45 seconds.
yeah.
But that one, lone nut was there alone for 40 seconds. And the point of the video is he could have continued to be a lone nut, but the first follower gave him legitimacy, gave him, look, what he's doing is good. And then you get a movement. So this is an incredibly powerful lesson. I can't thank you enough, Donato, for making the point. You need to show, because conceptually, there's a lot, there's a bit frustrating, to be honest, from where I sit as a headhunter. There's a lot of theoretical strategists, all these PowerPoint gurus in companies. Unfortunately, there's full of them, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to also distinguish. Are you just full of BS, or you actually know a little bit also? Because yeah, everybody can talk, yeah, but what is it, right? I mean, show me, and that element of doing both, right? I mean, there is a point for strategy. There is a point for, okay, this is where we're heading, but then bring it down to earth and say, this is what you can do, and this is how it's going to improve your supply chain. And by the way, in your business, not only that you improve bottom line, but you actually help people's lives, because all of a sudden the lady in Colombia or the lady in Nigeria can afford to buy something that otherwise she can't, so she can't go to school. So this is beyond profit. This is meaningful and purposeful, and it is, it just brings supply chain work to a new level.
If I may, before we conclude, because this concept is very important. I mean, it's, I encourage everyone in the podcast to watch the video. As you said, is you need to be a lone nut, but from lone nut you need to transform in having all the people dancing with you. And what I always tell to my managers, to high level managers, and say, look, our job, and this is also a message humbly I would like to pass to the people, reflect, because a lot of people come and say, oh no, I have the idea, but these people don't listen, things. Look, if you are a high level executive, high level job like a director, even plant manager, or vice president, and particularly in supply chain, that is the function that interconnect basically all the functions of the company, you need to be like a high level politician, but a politician in a high level philosophical way, like Socrates and Platone, in the sense that two things. You need to have the great ideas. You need to have something that convince, that excite, that improve the world, improve where you are. And you need to be able to get the votes, to get the power to get this idea happening. If you only have the ideas and you don't get people voting for you, supporting you, you don't go nowhere and you are not improving the world. If you are there crying that everyone around you is stupid, that is not listening to you, you are not contributing to the world. So do something and make sure you get the vote and the power to do the things.
Yes.
And
Great
one
metaphor.
characteristic where helped me a lot in my career is that few times people, and I remember, and then we close with this, is when we first time we really created global manufacturing, where we had the first time in this company the change of the reporting line from the factories to me and my colleague Ulrika Kors, because at that time we did tissue and personal care, and then we consolidated in me. And that was a big change for this company, and a big change in the executive management team. And I remember my colleagues in the executive management team, the business unit leader, that were basically giving the reporting line to me, because we, as it is a great company, we were in a meeting and the CEO asked, guys, do you support? Do we do this change? And I remember some of my very good colleagues, they said, bah, look, people that grew up from general managers to become a BU president. So they have this general manager thinking mind in a very good way. They said, look, I don't know, I cannot figure this out to work, but we trust Donato, let's try. And then we did it. And every day I really tried to stay to my commitment that whatever I would do would be to support them. I was not taking power. I was not doing my own strategy, my own KPI, my own thing. I was working to support them. And now they are all absolutely convinced about this. So that was a lol nut, but you need to have the trust of the people and say, okay, honestly, I really did not understand, do not understand what you mean, but I trust you.
Yes.
I let you try.
Yes. Such a fundamental thing that ultimately, even if you have the best idea and the best intention, but if people don't trust you, you can't do anything. And thanks for enforcing that, Donato. And look, we can talk for hours. I know we are at the end of our time. This has been, yeah, I mean, for me, it's just been a delight and a pleasure. I'm so happy to have had you. Thanks for all the nuggets that you shared today. Keep inspiring your team. Keep making a difference in so many people's lives all over the world. And look, keep dancing and adding more people to your movement.
Yes, my friend, I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to go to www.elcotglobal.com and click the podcast button for all the show notes of the interview. Also, subscribe to our mailing list to get our latest updates first. If you're listening through a streaming platform like iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher, we would appreciate a kind review. 5-star works best to keep us going and our production team happy. And of course, share it with your friends. I'm most active on LinkedIn, so do feel free to follow me. And if you have any suggestions on what to do and who to invite next, don't hesitate to drop me a note. And if you're looking to hire top executives in supply chain or transform your business, of course, contact us as well to find out how we can help.